I'm Eric Mitchell, and this is To The Point. It's been a crazy week here in September. It's not going to get any better, folks. With the election 2020, our news seems to be all over the place. People are going nuts. Later in the show, we're going to talk about the clowns. Maybe you haven't seen this. These crazy people in Florida running through Target, demanding that they're not wearing their masks, dancing through. Like I've said before, don't ever trust a grown man wearing cargo pants, cargo shorts. Never trust them. Great sports week. It's great to see the playoffs. We now know who's sitting where and doing what. NBA playoffs are now settled. It's going to be interesting. We're down to the final four teams. I'm looking forward to seeing the Nuggets, Lakers, and we're already through, we're on our way to game 3 of the Celtics Heat series. Still have my hands on the wheel believing the Heat are the team to beat out of the East. And until they prove otherwise, the Lakers are the Lake Show. And as a Blazer fan, it's tough to say, but definitely believe the Lakers look pretty darn good. And LeBron, once again, is a man on a mission. So we'll see if the Denver Nuggets can shake things up a little bit. They've been playing with that chip on their shoulder since some city team from Portland beat them last year. I'm just going to say that. But it's been an interesting week. Pop culture's everywhere. We'll briefly dive into it now. Kanye West. I don't know. Have you folks seen Kanye this week? I know you're like, oh, Eric, Kanye. Kanye has been... I don't know how to say this. Out of control. He, on Wednesday, posted photos of himself peeing. That's right. Peeing on one of his Grammys. My question is not just why were you peeing on a Grammy and tweeting that, but who's the unlucky soul who had to go take that Grammy out of the potty? That's right. A grown man just called the toilet a potty. That's right, I did, because that's what I call it. Took it out of the pot. Who did that? And who filmed that? Because it wasn't Kanye. Who filmed that? Also, in the same Kanye news, Kanye also posted, and the tweet was removed by Twitter, but he did post the phone number and email address of the editor in charge at Forbes. If you need some drama, there you go. Kanye West. He also put up foam walls surrounding his home in Calabasas, California. We don't know what's going on there. This guy definitely is the poster child for bipolar. And I feel bad for him, but clinically he's not seeking help. I know Kim Kardashian, his wife, has come out and said that she wants him to seek treatment. Kanye's been this way for a while, from running for president to just being Kanye and coming out with some of the crazy statements he has. It just grows the concern and what is concern and where we treat it. Do you make fun of it? Yeah, it's kind of interesting to see, so you don't want to make fun of it. But he also doesn't want to treat himself. And I think that's where we're at with culture today. Not the cancel culture, just culture in general. We look at mental disorders in our country in a different light. And that can be problematic. It's the same way that we treat PTSD in this country with our veterans. Now, a big misnomer is people who didn't serve can't have PTSD when you can. You can get PTSD from any traumatic event that takes place. So don't be so judgmental. Remember, people have mental disorders and they don't wear them as a badge of courage on the outside. Nobody's walking around going, hi, I'm bipolar and I have attention deficit disorder. No, it's something that you live with and plays in your brain. And you got to thank great guys in the NBA like Kevin Love, who's brought mental disorders and his mental disorder out to the public. You see it a lot. People have them, and sometimes they come through. They also lead to tragic loss of life, and we've seen that with one of the singers from Linkin Park. We've seen it with Chris Cornell. We've just seen it time and time again. Suicide is no joking matter, but we sincerely hope that Kanye gets the best. He's an extremely talented artist. I don't always have to agree with his politics. He's an extremely talented artist, and I wish for him the best. So I really hope that he gets out there and seeks the counseling that he needs, because he clearly needs some help. And somebody take him away. It's like I tell a lot of people, some people just don't belong on Twitter. He joins that long list of people who don't belong on Twitter. So we got a great show for you today. My good friend Jordan Gelber joins us today. So when we come back from the break, the wonderful Jordan Gelber will be joining us.
This is how it's supposed to be. Stay up, moving close to me.
welcome back to the show. We got a great guest today. Our guest is also one of the executive producers and the brains behind our wonderful show here at To The Point. So I figured bring on the EP and we double as a guest because it's Friday. And I know last Friday, our premiere Friday for you folks, we brought you 9/11, which is a really tough topic for one of our premiere episodes to bring you. So we're going to talk about everything going on in pop culture, social media today. So our executive producer, besides being an awesome EP, is also a professional actress and has her hands in many things when it comes to Comic-Con and just pop culture in general. So live from Brooklyn, I just like sounding like I'm at Saturday Night Live. So live from Brooklyn, we bring you the wonderful Jordan Gelber. Jordan, how are you doing today?
With that entrance, I mean, I feel so cool.
No pressure on that one, right? Just
no pressure. I feel cool. I have a fancy mic now. I feel cool.
You do. You got the mic, and you got this setup. We won't talk about your lighting at all.
My lighting, my fancy LED lights are betraying me right now, but it's okay. I swear I'm a producer for To The Point with Eric Mitchell.
Right now, we're like, this is why Eric's the host. This is why, because
this is why.
We're going to change your setup, folks. I promise in a few weeks, Jordan will have a similar setup to this. So we have this as kind of, that's what we're doing.
I did have a ring light and it totally gave up on me. I literally plugged it in before I saw you and then it just was like, we're not turning on. We're not doing that.
So you can just, that's what we do around here, folks. Just show up. So it's been an interesting week. It's been an interesting year. We'll just start with that. Interesting week. Lots of crazy people, crazy things. And I've seen it all. And I want to bring it up to you because I love talking crazy and we have crazy people. So this week I was perusing social media, like you know I do, looking for fun topics and fun guests. And then I send them to you and go, Jordan, we need these people. So I saw this one post. And it was on YouTube because it's a show that airs on TV. And it was on another network and it's not. They were like the first to go. They posted that Justin Bieber belongs to a cult that has dead babies. Mind you, this is the same clown show that also says that Jeffrey Epstein could possibly be alive. He's on an island with Tupac and Biggie. What do we do? I mean, I'd love your 2 cents. I want the New York answer because I want your 2 cents on how crazy is this, like actual news, or is it just thirsty for attention because you get your butt handed to you by a younger, much better show with much higher quality? I mean, that second part was just a jab, folks, playing at home. But the first part, Jordan, is a serious question. You see this all over social media. You see a lot of shows doing this. You see a lot of big shows doing this. That prick Tucker Carlson with his bow tie, always controversial. You see the same thing with freaking Laura Ingraham sitting out here calling out people, telling NBA athletes to shut up and dribble. It's like, dude, LeBron James makes more money than you, Laura, and does more for people in his own hometown than you ever have. Check bank accounts and see who does more. But, I mean, is this just thirsty for attention or are they actually sharing news?
Oh my gosh. First of all, the fact that you said this was a serious question is a little daunting. I mean, I think we've gotten to this point, in the bubble of quarantine where I feel like there's a lot of stuff rising to the top and a lot of stuff just sinking to the floor. I believe you and I even had this conversation when we released, like when I was brought onto the show about where we want to take the show, because of the fact that we saw that so many productions have been on hiatus, so many things have stopped like running, shows have gotten canceled, new shows have been in development, but for the most part, we knew that people are going to start running out of content. And I think that's what's happened. Like, how do you know what's real and what's fake? Well, a lot of stuff, clickbait has a whole new term now. The clickbait has bled into some quote unquote mainstream media as being like, are you reporting the news or are you becoming a tabloid? If I want to get a tabloid, I'll go to the supermarket and I can still buy one off the rack. Like some of the news that's coming out there, it's like, what is this? What agenda is this pushing? By even first of all, bringing up some grandiose storyline of this whole dead baby sex cult. What is this even driving? And furthermore, like, what are you trying to prove? If you're reporting on the news, forget what side these individuals subscribe to. What is this even like bringing to your audience? I feel that we're just there's a lot of people running out with content ideas and they don't know where to go. So they decided that I'm just going to be controversial for controversial's sake. And and just kind of run with it. And that's where we are now.
I agree with you. I think absolutely some shows are thirsty for content because they don't have it, and there's better content out there. There's so many better just networks and shows that are out there that you could turn on the channel and you have choices. I mean, I do, as you know, I do a lot of appearances on national, and there's some new up and coming networks that are awesome, owned by huge networks, and they're awesome with top-notch anchors asking real questions and keeping it exactly where they want, where they're not posting that Justin Bieber, by the way, in the picture they use of Justin Bieber is like 20 years ago,
It's baby version
it's
Justin.
baby Bieber. It's not even tatted up Jesus Bieber. It's freaking baby Bieber with the hair. I mean, I was like, wow, could you be thirsty for views? And still we get more views. But
Yeah.
it just,
I gotta say, we discussed this, I think, briefly, like a few times back that I came on, where, we're not necessarily reporting breaking news. We have delivered breaking news, and it's great to watch you be on so many other networks because it brings obviously more attention to here and what the kind of topics that we're kind of shining a light on and letting our guests speak for themselves. But the world of reporting news has become such a crucial thing in this whole pandemic situation that it's like you have a platform and a job to do to inspire whatever. Doesn't matter what side you subscribe on. I might hate people for that. Not hate people. I might disagree with people say, especially if they hate me, but they have every right to say what they feel. I mean, this is America, right? But I think that some of this stuff, it's like, who are you helping? Who are you trying to affect? Like, it's so ridiculous. And that whole mentality of I'm going to come on here and I'm going to just stir up some stuff with my audience members and just have them think crazy so they have more reasons to kind of spread more hate in the world. Like, that's all I feel like they're doing. They just want to stay relevant by being a bully and scaring people, and all these weird smoke tactics. And I'm sorry to use smoke as the word, but it's true. It's like, what else are you gonna do? Like,
it's good humor with us here in Portland. We thank you for that here on the West Coast. It's our gift that keeps on giving. That's why we sent the smoke all the way to the East Coast, because that's how we say thank you. You're right, though. The shade, all the stuff that these folks do, these shows that just are nothing but controversial. They get bounced. Some of the bigger folks, obviously Laura and Tucker, who I love to bash on, they're on a big network. Some of these smaller folks booted from network to network with a silly little shtick with the same cheesy guests. It's just over and over again, and it only lasts so long. People get it. And the question I have, and here we are on air talking about it on a Friday, but when you look at this and you look at the state of America today, we're 40 some odd days away from election 2020. It's nothing but a madhouse. So many people, what I don't get, and we'll come back and talk about this after the break because we have a little bit to talk about, and I don't want to get too deep into this, but you watch this town hall meeting with the President of the United States, and anybody who defends him now, I'm like shocked. I'm like, he just said what somebody said, Mr. President, I feel that you downplayed the pandemic, because we've heard you on tape from one of the best journalists on the planet, Mr. Woodard. You turn around and your response is, well, I kind of upplayed it. Are you 5? I mean, that's an old media tactic to respond with, nope, I actually, I upplayed it. It's like, really, bro? That's what you do? And they come on and they're like, Black Lives Matter is horrible. They're terrorists. And it's like, really? It's as bad as the reporters. I mean, and this is kind of, you're right. You hit the nail on the head with people calling themselves journalists. Are they really reporting the news or their opinion? Now, I have no problem to tell you on here, yep, there's a combo here on To The Point. You get my opinion as the average Joe veteran who served his country, owns a business and understands the frustration. I've worked in corporate America, so I know that feeling. I also know the feeling of owning my own business, so I have my own 2 cents to do on that. But to have these folks come on and claim to be journalists, I swear this feels like a production meeting we're having, not on TV, but hey.
Let me take some notes over here and just start.
But, to me, it blows me away that people will fall into place for both people and not realize there's actually other candidates out there that have interesting takes. And I've been really doing some research on a lot of them. I mean, there's one, hey, we like reality stars and TV people, Brock Pierce, who is running for president. He's in 15 states, as a matter of fact. He's a write-in and a few others, and getting approval on others. He's an actor, has some interesting viewpoints, really big in the Bitcoin and cannabis side of the house, which I love. I'm a huge fan of one of the two. The first one, I have no idea what the hell Bitcoin is. If you know what Bitcoin is, go ahead and tweet at To The Point. We would love to know what Bitcoin is. If you're a Bitcoin
Or comment
person,
on our LinkedIn. I'm big. Comment on our LinkedIn,
comment
please.
on our LinkedIn. See, you can tell the people who run my social. They're like, damn it, put them on LinkedIn, Eric. But no, it's just, it blows my mind as somebody who goes on TV every day and has the honor to talk to everybody out there, and people make their opinions fact, and it's not. It's report what you read. I do that with sports every day. If I'm going to quote a fact, I'm going to quote a fact. I'm not going to give my opinion. Sometimes my opinions happen to be right, and that's just lucky on me. But that's where we're at. But when we come back from the break, Jordan, we're going to talk about a new article that came out in The Guardian this week that talks about so many of our children in America don't believe that the Holocaust is real. And it's closer to your age bracket, and I got kids in that age bracket. Thank God mine know the difference. But we're going to come back from the break. We're going to talk about the Holocaust and people calling that a hoax, like it goes with COVID. So when we come back from the break, talking about that. And we're back, and on To The Point today, we have the executive producer of To The Point and our amazing guest and actress, Jordan Gilbert, joining us. So, Jordan, before we went to the break, talking about crazy people on TV and in the media, and now this report, The Guardian, we've seen it kind of, parts of 2020, the story's kind of been leaked, so it's not, I wish it was real news, and it's not fake news, but talking about, in America, children believe, a large number, over 40% of children, and teenagers as a matter of fact, millennials, Gen Zers, believe that the Holocaust is a hoax. Now, I'm not just asking you this because you live in Brooklyn. I'm asking you, and I do know you are part of the Jewish community. So I'm asking you this. Obviously, you're raised around it. I was raised in the military. We darn well know the Holocaust exists. Our relatives found these horrible internment camps throughout Europe while we were kicking the Nazis' butts, and did a great job whooping up on them with our friends from Russia and England, doing a great job doing that. And then we made sure the Marines went to Japan and we just whooped up over there too, just to keep a scoreboard for everybody at home. This is how we're going to add into this, because I got to tell you, Jordan, it ticked me off to read that. I am not a Jewish person at all. It's not my community. I'm a Catholic kid. But being raised around a lot of friends in the Jewish community and knowing what the Holocaust is and meeting survivors, how dare anybody believe? It made as much sense as Kyrie Irving saying the earth is flat. And he had to go back and retract his statement. What is causing this in America today that people are so stupid? There's not even the word like confused. Stupid to believe the Holocaust doesn't exist.
I mean, first of all, not only as a Jewish person does this affect me, my grandfather was a Holocaust survivor. So I am personally affected by the Holocaust and the fact that, the fact that my whole family has been directly affected by the Holocaust. I mean, the majority of my relatives were killed in the Holocaust. My great grandmother was killed in a gas chamber. Like it truly, not to get extremely morbid, but this is my life. This is my family. This is something that directly destroyed a huge makeup of my life, my legacy, my family's legacy. I feel that for me, it's so important that people know what happened. Like all genocides, everything, that history repeats itself, and I think we need to learn from our past mistakes, whether they are direct lineage or things that happened to other, communities. I can't believe that people don't believe the Holocaust existed, or that people aren't aware that the Holocaust existed. Growing up, that was such a big point in our history books. Like I think one of the most unique experiences I had when I was a kid is like I said, my grandfather was a Holocaust survivor. My father's first generation American, and my whole life I was raised about awareness of the Holocaust and what happened and all those. And I had this kid that was an exchange student from South Korea, and one of my history classes, and my grandfather came to speak to the class. And every year he would come and speak to that history class about the Holocaust and talk about his experiences and what he remembers. And that this one a student from South Korea wrote a note to my grandfather saying, I don't think I'd ever have the chance to meet a Holocaust survivor had I not come here for learning and stuff like that. So it's so baffles me. There's so many other things that we talk about from history, but to really gloss over such an impactful moment in time. And it's not just about the fact that it's about Jews. I mean, 6 million Jews died in the Holocaust. It's affected so many lives, so many lineages, so many passages, so many people's just like fame. I mean, it's so, I can't even express myself because it's so blasphemous to me. And I can't believe, like, I almost wasn't here because of the Holocaust. How could you not know? I could count my more than my hands and my toes and my family and everything of people directly affected by they weren't around. So it's just, I don't know what's going on.
Well, thanks for sharing that insight, Jordan. I mean, and I don't want you to get emotional over this, and I totally understand how you can after, obviously I haven't lived it, but I know enough about history, studied military history. I don't judge our veterans, the greatest generation, or World War One. Those people to me are the greatest generation ever, and that includes those 6 million lives that were snuffed out by an evil man. That they're not losers to me, are warriors that fought over and took over Europe and defeated Hitler. I know that there's other people that live in a White House that have been caught on film that think because the dead are losers. Well, he's incorrect, and he also doesn't have the courage to ever serve. So we'll leave it at that. But, you brought in an interesting point. Like, whole generations were wiped off the map. Like, when you put that into perspective, and I tried to do that even when it comes to, like, Israel as a state, or a country, state of Israel. Duh, Eric. Good job, Eric.
You're doing so good.
I'm doing so good. I called it a state almost, Eric. You did so good. The country of Israel, when you look at how old Israel is, but as a country, when the people started actually claiming that land, it's alarming because it's not that old of a country when you think about it. I mean, yes, there's a lot of biblical history, but just amazes me that shows didn't cover this and haven't covered this at all. I mean, I'm amazed. To lead with other stories of hate and bigotry and misogynist and
propaganda
and defending people and just not covering it and ignoring this when you have it. And if you are based in New York City or anywhere near the tri-states and you didn't bring this up where you have one of the largest concentration of Jewish people in America and you didn't bring it up, it just shows exactly where you're at. You have hate in your heart, and to me, there's these shows that go on, and all they do is portray hatred, which causes this generation to become angry. And that's what we see. It's so quick to attack Portland. I was talking to an anchor just the other day, and he's like, and he used to be a leading anchor here, 20 years broadcasting the news in Portland, Oregon. And he's like, what ticks me off is I read the news and people make it sound like downtown Portland is a war zone. It's not. It's maybe 2 blocks. And I know that's not like the greatest, but don't portray something as one thing when it's not. Don't go on here and be like, oh, they're burning the town down. No, they're not. Trust me. Trust me, it's beautiful. I'm a season ticket holder. I'm a small business owner. Portland is still a place that I'll take my beautiful wife on a date any day of the week. I trust it. That's where I'm having my birthday. I love downtown Portland. It's beautiful. It has all the same issues any big city has. And yeah, we're not in the big city like you guys, but you get it. So Jordan, before you go, what is your thoughts on this? How do we fix this issue so people understand this is not a hoax, it's real life?
Well, I think it's 2 things. I think first, it's the fact that it's really a major response to this generation. And I really think it's like the lower end of millennials, the millennials that are were much later. So beyond, I think what millennials are 1985 to 1992 or something, give or take. So like closer to the mid 1990s and Gen Zers and younger. That's because their entire social interaction is based upon digesting information online. They get easily offended on things, on books and movies and music, etc., because their only interaction is virtual. They're not having true interactions like you and I have never really got to meet before in person. However, you and I have a strong relationship. I have a strong relationship with my friends. We do things like that. I think a big thing is don't shy from ignorance, learn about it. Don't just see something and respond. Go deep, discover more things, and understand that it's beyond just initial story. There are bigger stories at hand. There's a chain reaction. I hope that explained something.
Yes. And thank you, Jordan. Before we go to break, I want to thank you so much for joining us. Stick around, everybody. Coming back from the break, I'm going to jump into some social justice warriors and talk about some people who are not doing so good and so hot. You might have seen it. We come back, we're going to talk about these clowns in Florida running through Target with their speaker and cargo shorts. Coming up next.
Let's get to the point. With Eric Mitchell, we gon' talk about sports and the politics. You gon' hear what you've been needing, and then you're dismissed.
Welcome back to The Point. It was great to have Jordan Gilbert join us today. As you guys know, Jordan is our executive producer on the show also with the great Marina Mara. We'll have to have Marina on real soon. But you know, folks, 2020 has become that cancel culture, right? We hear cancel culture everywhere. We have statues that have been brought down. Whether or not you approve or disapprove, a lot of people have their opinions. It's been a cancel culture and rumor mill kind of world. The last 3 years, we've heard the term fake news more than ever before from a person who loves fake news. If you haven't looked into it, there's a great HBO documentary that talks about the National Enquirer, and one of their favorite people who they talk about quite often is Donald Trump, who used to spread his own gossip. So it's really hard when you're sitting here and you have a reality TV star. So we have what we want, and I think what it comes down to when we talk about election 2020 let's talk about this, folks. We're just got done reporting to you that there is a large percentage of certain generations in America that believe that the Holocaust is a hoax. Holocaust is a hoax. Just the pure fact that somebody wrote that sentence out and said the Holocaust, that these children believe the Holocaust is a hoax. It's just unbelievable. That's where we're at in 2020. When we were raised, this is what we've known. Our grandparents told us about the atrocities that they saw as they were the greatest generation, walking through Germany and the rest of Eastern Europe, coming across these camps. You know, the Russians came across the same thing. And you see this in your end disbelief to read the same thing. I mean, and not to downplay the Holocaust, but then there's people who believe that there's flat Earth, right? The planet's flat. In fact, NBA, perennial all-star and media darling, Kyrie Irving, he came out and said that the Earth was flat. Then he had to retract that statement. And we live in this constant stage of panic as Americans when we have shows that affect everything. Just a year and a half ago, about a year and a half, of course, our friends at Netflix released an amazing documentary called The Greatest Hack. Now, The Greatest Hack documents the 2016 election, in which both parties, the Democrats and the Republicans, used social media as a tool to help weaponize voting and getting people out, filling us with just BS and things that didn't make sense. And we've reached this pinnacle again where we're at it again, where we have so many ways that news is disseminated amongst us. And what are we talking about? Again, on Netflix, there's a new show called Social Dilemma. It's a bunch of former ex-employees of these large social media platforms that are talking about the deep, dark secrets to get us hooked on these devices. Hooked. And they are. They're hard to put down. Your screen time, it always amazes you how much time you spend on them. But again, am I saying that the show is wrong? No, I watched it and I turned it off partly because it made me sick to my stomach. And two, you have to look at it this way. And if you're not familiar with it, we'll dive bomb into this. But look at Glassdoor. Glassdoor is a place where you can review employees, and we're going to put a few up here so you guys can check out what I'm talking about. But Glassdoor, amazing company. You can go on and you can get reviews of companies, see how they pay, see what they're doing. And sometimes they pose really good light into a company, and sometimes they pose bad light into a company. But it's all perspective. It's all how you use it. Yes, you could become addicted to just about anything that you use more than once. They say the best way to start anything is to do something for 20 straight days, and then you become addicted. You've heard that, right? Stop me if you haven't heard that, but you probably have. And that's where we're at these days, folks, is people are so fired up and caught up and need to know what the Joneses said, then instead of worrying about themselves. We spend more time worrying about what's going on in other lanes than worrying about taking care of our own and our families. And family comes first. If 2020 has taught us nothing more, it's to love the time and love the people you're with. I can tell you from firsthand experience, the last what feels like 4 decades, which has really just been, holy Toledo Batman, when you put it into perspective like that, hooey, all of a sudden 4 months. Yeah, wow, this has been more than 4 months, ladies and gentlemen. Holy Toledo Batman, it becomes 5 months real fast. 5 months into this thing, going on 6, and now being sequestered in our home because of smoke for the last 8 days. You know, the one thing is I've enjoyed the time with my family. Spending time with my daughter, who helped actually create this show at 16 years of age, came up with this idea that we should do a show that spins in the average Joe's category, where you could get your news, either one of those 3, you can get them from me. Sometimes an angry, disgruntled person. No, I'm not. I have a lot of fun and love life, but there's a lot that goes on that you have to pay attention to. And people, spending time with your family is one of them. Putting your devices down. You know, in our house, and I'm just giving my perspective again, like we said earlier with Jordan, this is all perspective in my opinion. You don't have to do this. One thing that we started doing is we got this great little Jenga set and we put it on a table and we just play. It's an ongoing game that can go for weeks at a time as everybody takes a turn and we just keep playing. When somebody knocks it down, then you start it again. And we also started playing this domino style game called Mexican Train. I blame my mom, shout out to my mom, for this amazing game. And we started playing it, and it's fun because we get together as a family, we sit down and we start playing this game. And it's just loads and loads and loads of fun where you're not touching your device. You got music on in the background and you're not glued to your TV. And I think that's where we need to be. That's the America we want. Not an America divided by an election, because what happens after November 3rd, 2020, folks? We're going to have a winner and we're going to have a loser. I mean, it's much like the morning after the Super Bowl. There's a winner and a loser. Half the country's really happy, the other half's really pissed off. That's how it is. That's sports. You know, elections are the same way. Either you're right or you're wrong. Either you gloat or you don't gloat. I mean, how many people in 2016 said that they would leave, they would pack up and move to Canada? Oh, the Canadian border's closed, so nobody can say that this year. But what happens if it's not what people say it's going to be? And nobody trusts polls. How many out there? Raise your hand. Tweet me right now at To The Point TV if you actually trust polls. Actual physical polling places where you're like, yep, the polls are accurate, these polls are accurate. And never before have we heard so much nonsense about taking care of, voter fraud. Well, I haven't seen voter fraud be a frontline story until the last couple months. And it's all just smoke and mirrors. And we're amazed when we have things. And just this week, you guys saw it. Both presidential candidates had town halls. And both were But we look at Donald Trump's town hall. The morning after, all the pundits were spinning it was an ambush. And I'm like, how is it an ambush if you got to screen all the questions? You knew who was going to be there. There was nothing to be caught off guard about. It wasn't like an ambush. To call something an ambush is as bad as the dude from the Big Ten, who, when he was writing his response to why they voted to go ahead with the season, he compared getting football back to the brave Navy SEALs that killed bin Laden, or the 3,000 lives that we lost on D-Day storming the shores. That's how important it was to him. And I think we get a little caught up in the fact that we need to stop comparing things to that. Now, and I'll end this part of the segment before we close out the show for the week. I do want to address this. And people message me quite often and ask for my 2 cents on the matter. And I'm going to address it because I've timed myself to keep this short. So you only have to deal with it for less than 3 minutes. I generally believe that the article from The Atlantic was 100% accurate. I know people don't agree with me. I know show hosts that don't agree with me. I've been called out by show hosts because of my beliefs. Now, they didn't serve, and they're quick to tell you that their relatives served in some capacity, but that doesn't mean they served. And when they have the nerve to post that a general shouldn't say this and a general has never said this, well, when you have over 20 generals speak out against one person, you tend to believe that the generals might be right. And to say reliable sources aren't reliable sources and that they want to be anonymous. Have you seen the way you're treated when you do come out, when you do speak the truth? Lieutenant Colonel Vidman is one of those living examples of living a hellish life after he was implicated and brought out. I think it's important that people remember this is a person who's on the record for moving a ship because the last name offended him. A famous last name in the military community, that's right, we're talking about John McCain. I'm not talking about John McCain's politics, I'm talking about his service to our nation, his family's service to our nation. Now, say what you want, if you didn't serve, you don't have a right to bash on anybody that's in the military. It's not the first time. This man is also on the record as saying that he doesn't want disabled or our wounded warriors walking down the street on his glorified parade that nobody in the military ever wanted. Let's be clear, nobody in the military likes going to march, unless that's your MOS, your military occupational skill, unless your MOS is marching, where you're in the band or the silent drill team, or a job that requires that. Nobody likes marching. We all physically hate it. So save that for somebody else. So it doesn't shock me that this article came out. It doesn't shock me that the blowback has been what it is. But the unfortunate part is the news cycle just buries that story and moves on to the next. So do I believe that it was said? Absolutely, I do. The man has done nothing but disrespect people who have served this country more than he ever has. And if you are a TV host and you disagree with me, I challenge you to come on this show and debate me why you don't think it's appropriate. I know you won't, but my door is always open. I want you to come on the show and tell me how I'm incorrect and where your evidence and your party hat lies. I'm going to tell you, I'll call it out like I see it. And it doesn't matter if you have family in law enforcement or military, you did not serve. So you can just sit there and be quiet and understand that the military is not too happy about it. And we all have our viewpoints. Does that mean I speak for every veteran? Hell no. I know that there's vets 100% believe that the president didn't say it. You're absolutely right. But I know a whole bunch that don't. That's why I love what's going on over at the Lincoln Project. If you haven't checked out the Lincoln Project, go check it out. Led by an awesome veteran. Their veteran advocacy program is led by an amazing West Point graduate and combat veteran, the wonderful Fred Wellman. Okay, folks, that's my rant. When we come back from the break, we're going to be talking and closing out the show, talk about what's up in store for next week.
Let's get to the point with Eric Mitchell. Let's get to the point with Eric Mitchell. We gon' talk about sports and the politics. You gon' hear what you've been needing, and then you're dismissed.
Welcome back, everybody. It's been a great week. It's our first full week here on Biz TV. And we thank Biz TV so much for putting on our beautiful show on their network. Like I always tell people, and you'll hear it at the end, but if you'd like to be a guest, just email us. It's really easy. Just hit us up at hello@tothepointtv.com. Kind of recap for the week. We started off the week with a young millennial business owner out of San Diego County, a tragic media rich Radowski. Came in, he didn't look like your traditional business owner, but came in as a company that's absolutely crushing it, building apps and taking care of all that back-end stuff that a lot of small business owners don't want to talk about. Tuesday, another amazing guest kind of talking about mindset. Joseph Burgess was on. And then Wednesday, an amazing show with the wonderful Augie Duke and Michael Reed talking about their movie 645 and what it's like to work in Hollywood. Obviously, our Thursday show is our sports show, so It's just all me talking sports. And of course, today with the wonderful Jordan Gilbert, we're just kind of talking about what goes on in social culture. You're going to see that more as you watch our show. The one thing that we strive to do here To The Point is always keep it fresh and going. So what you're going to see a lot more of is more guests on the show during the show. So it won't just be me and one person. We want to keep it fresh and keep it non-boring. So we're going to keep that going. So you're going to see segments that feature guests. There's going to feature me, feature different things that we're trying to do. And that's a big part of this show, is to make sure that you guys are always, number one, entertained and given some good insight. So we have amazing guests for you next week. Very strong guests. Come on and talk about business coaching, talk about their business. Some amazing veterans will be joining us. Outstanding, writers will be joining the show. Maybe some surprise guests. But this week has been interesting, and I think as we close out the week with the West Coast, hopefully these fires are starting to die down, and we can move into fall. And what has been an ugly 2020, 40 some odd days away from election 2020. And I just think it goes on the record that I was talking to a good friend of mine, a family member, and he was talking about how he had to move. And he was talking about the gas business, and he said it's as predictable as every 4 years how prices are fluctuated in the oil and gas world. And I never really paid attention, but I'm starting to notice there's a lot of things that every 4 years are affected, not just the Olympics, but in reality, in 2020 just accented that, because our business is really struggling. As we see that in the news, and we see that constantly, that some businesses are failing, well, other businesses are absolutely crushing it. Look at the numbers at Amazon and Walmart. We have the ongoing TikTok saga, right, which will be another influx of money. We don't even know if that's going to happen now, as just before we aired, Oracle shared that they did not pass the security requirements for the acquisition. So, we live in an interesting place, in an interesting world, and I think it's our responsibility on this show, or in any show, to make sure that we're giving you the facts and good opinions, and then you walk away and make your own decision, because that's what's great about living in America, and that's what's great about being a small business owner in America, is the ability to understand your business. Now, before we go, I want to close the show out on this little ditty that I have for you when it comes to dealing with business, and I've seen this a lot lately, and the life of an entrepreneur is not easy. We all know that. If you run a business, you've ever built a business, building a business is probably one of the hardest things that you've ever had to do. Now, recently, it's come out that people are creating and bragging about people who, they're calling them like third watch entrepreneurs or whatever. The people who, basically a third watch entrepreneur is somebody who is working at a full-time job and creating something else. You see them online, they portray themselves like their business is killing it when it's really not, because it's their daytime job that gives them the rights to live the life they live. And what are they doing? They're stealing time from their employer while they try to create something else. So I don't advocate for this, and I don't think it's right. Mark Cuban famously calls these folks wannapreneurs. So to encourage people to create another business while they're working and kind of dabble their foot and their toe in the pond is not really entrepreneurship. You're a wannabe. You're not really an entrepreneur. If you disagree with me, you're more than welcome to come on the show and debate me that I'm not correct. As I left my business, I left my company, not my company, I left a company and went and started my own business. I did it 100%. I saved money so I could survive, and we did it. I know other people who made sure they went and found capital, bootstrapped the stiff all the way across the plate, did not need that other job. So be careful where you listen and be careful where you go. Everybody wants to tell you that, oh, it's okay to do this, but don't be a time thief. There's nothing worse than that. If you're going to jump into entrepreneurship, jump into entrepreneurship. It's fun. It's a wild ride for the most part. It's hard at first, and you kind of just go. And that's what makes it fun. But for everyone else, stop thinking there's an easy shortcut here and downplay the struggle for all of us. Having a full-time job where you have benefits and a guaranteed paycheck every 2 weeks, there's no risk. You don't have any risk at all. You're a coward. You're just not ready for it. So when you're ready, save that money. Save it up. Build your business plan. And then launch like a normal person. Launch your program and get going. Because that, at the end of the day, is entrepreneurship. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't give a lot of advice when it comes to business, but that's the advice that I give to you on this wonderful Friday. We got do we have? Like 2 Fridays left in September. We're going to be crossing over fall next week, so we'll have our first day of fall episode. I'm excited for fall. Hopefully you are too. Summer's over. Fall means the holidays. I don't know about you. I get excited for the holidays. I always like Halloween. Really love Thanksgiving. And love me some December times. Nothing like the Christmas spirit. And I think that's what our country and the world needs right now is a little Christmas spirit. So for everybody out there, and I also, I know Jordan wanted to mention this. Today is the first, well, this evening is the first evening of Rosh Hashanah. Hopefully I said that right. Hopefully Eric, you screwed that up. Celebrate and enjoy that time with your family if you are participating in Rosh Hashanah. I don't know very much about it. I just know that's on my calendar and it's important to my friends, so I mention it. So we got some great, like I've said yesterday on the show, some great football. Week 2 of the NFL. We're going into the last 4 teams in the NBA and the WNBA. Major League Soccer is going great. That's what we have for you guys today. So hopefully you enjoyed this week's shows. I know I did. I love being on here with you folks. Remember, if you want to follow me personally, you can hit me up on the Twitter. That's right, on the Twitter. I'm at Eric L. Mitchell, all over on all platforms if you're just looking to get a hold of me. If you'd like to get a hold of anybody on our show, if you know somebody that'd like to be a guest, or you yourself would like a guest, or your brand, please feel free to reach out to us at hello@tothepointtv.com. That's hello@tothepointtv.com. Just see that link right there. That's where you go. But we have that for you. Also, follow us on social media. You can find us at To The Point TV on Instagram and Twitter, and To The Point with Eric Mitchell on Facebook and YouTube. Well, we'd love to find you there. As always, you can always find us on Biz TV in the video VODs. You can always find us on C-Suite. Just go to C-Suite TV shows, scroll down, see To The Point, click it, and you can catch all of our past episodes right there and see our amazing, amazing team. So that's what we have for you this week. Make sure you go and enjoy your weekend. Enjoy some time with some family. Enjoy if you have sunlight. Enjoy it. We're getting rain. We're excited for it. So on behalf of the entire team here at To The Point, executive producer Jordan Gelber, executive producer Marina Mera, and the wonderful and awesome, I'm partial to this producer Madison Mitchell. Music by Space Force. Folks, as always, I'm Eric Mitchell. Be safe. Be strong. Be smart, and God bless America.
With Eric Mitchell. Let's get to the point.